So, about the diagnosis, I guess, start there. I ended up getting a diagnosis because I was seeing somebody for counselling to do with adoption. I thought I was adopted, that's why I was goofy. And what happened from there was that one day I had a meltdown because the therapist had said something weird, and I questioned her and she got aggressive with me. And yeah, that's the first time I ever kind of went into an emotional shutdown, and I just sort of leaned forward and I just had to get out of there. So I left and ended up seeing a psychiatrist who told me I had borderline personality disorder. And I was like, well, what about adoption? Because I was like, this is, you know, I'd done my research and I was like, well, it sounds like CPTSD. And she was like, oh, no, there has to be like a foundational trauma or some such thing. And I'm like, oh, being given up for adoption is not a foundational trauma. And she kept going, you need a foundational trauma. And it's like, oh, okay, we've reached the point where people are just going to say the same thing that doesn't make sense over and over again in the hope that somehow that's good enough. And so I said I felt unsafe, and they did the unsafe word. And we were ushered out. I was ushered out. I left. I don't know. And then didn't really want to go back there because it's like, well, what's the point? There's something more wrong with me than borderline personality disorder. Like that's... And so I ended up going to a couple of psychologists and nothing was the right fit. And I found somebody just by chance that was a forensic psychologist, and they saw me for about 18 months and did a bunch of tests and blah, blah. And they deal a lot with, I didn't know it at the time, but a lot with a lot of autism. They have a lot of patients doing autism. Yeah, they're big on the autism there. They get a lot of doers. And yeah. So ended up there, and my therapist confirmed the diagnosis, and from there it was kind of a pandemic of insanity. So from there, I guess what brought it all about was the pandemic, because we all stopped, but I'm going to talk about that in another video. Just how, that was for me on the spectrum. I don't like these terms. I'm not happy with these terms. Got a bit angry about the Nazi doctor label. Just finished reading a fascinating book on the Holocaust by a doctor who was inside the gas chambers, where we would have all ended up had we not been useful to the cause. Familiar story there. So anyway, terrifying. And then I was diagnosed, and that prompted a process of really months and months of my brain just doing this weird thing. Like I wasn't even in control of the process. It was just like it was reordering all the parts of all the files in my mind, all the stories, all the things that I had particular emotional responses around, and it was a very, very bizarre situation. It's like someone going through every moment of your life and absolving you of guilt. It's probably the best way I can describe it, because 55 years I blamed myself for all of these things, because people had always said, oh, you know, you're too intense, or, you know, it was obvious I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. I knew something was wrong. Sometimes I'd have meltdowns and I wouldn't know why. So it was a long process of reordering, I think I'd call it. Anyway, like, subscribe, more videos coming, kind of a bit more long form maybe. If you want them shorter, let me know and I'll chop them up, baby.